When you think of visiting Hollywood studios, you may imagine yourself stepping foot on Batuu and creating your own Star Wars story. Perhaps you will picture stepping into a haunted elevator that will lead to your demise. Maybe you will shrink down to the size of a toy and run around Andy's backyard. Or you will watch a show about how they create the stunts seen in the Indiana Jones films. Wait, that one doesn't seem to quite fit in, does it?
First came the Magic Kingdom. Then the incredible EPCOT Center. Now comes the new Disney MGM Studios theme park. The Disney MGM Studios theme park at Walt Disney World in Florida.
When Hollywood Studios opened on May 1st, 1989, formerly Disney MGM Studios, the purpose of the park was clear: to show guests the behind-the-scenes work that goes into creating movies. However, recently, with the addition of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and Toy Story Land, they are clearly moving in a different direction and are now immersing you into the universes in which your favorite stories are told. That way, you can live your own story. Or, at least that's what half of the park is doing. Let's explore this progress of Hollywood Studios and discover what a disorganized mess that this theme park is. Hollywood Studios did not start out as a concept for a theme park, but instead a pavilion set in Epcot's future world. Imagineers wanted to make an entertainment-themed land located near the Imagination Pavilion, where guests would view a presentation of great movie moments, behind the scenes of a TV show, and an attraction that showed the importance of sound and special effects in filmmaking. Sound familiar? As Imagineers continued to work on this concept, they realized they had far too many ideas for a small pavilion in Epcot, and they needed something bigger. Rumor is that soon-to-be Disney CEO Michael Eisner was present at a Universal Studios meeting where they discussed creating a theme park centered around the making of the movies that would double as a functioning film studio. There is no evidence that this is actually true. However, once Michael Eisner was made Disney CEO, the concept for Disney MGM Studios was created very quickly, opening before the Universal Studios park. All of the opening day attractions centered around this theme, to show the behind-the-scenes work of filmmaking. There are two main sections of the opening day park: the backstage and the theme park. The backstage studio area consisted of the Backlot Studio Tour that was roughly 2 hours long when it first opened. This tour took guests backstage to different sound stages being used for filming, such as the new Mickey Mouse Club or the set for the lottery starring Bette Midler. Guests were also given a glimpse of the different aspects needed for filmmaking, such as costuming, sound design, props, and post-production. It included one of the most iconic aspects of early Hollywood studios, Catastrophe Canyon. This set showed guests how a natural disaster may take place in the movies. By 1990, one of the sets, known as New York Street, was open to the public to walk on, shortening the tour. In 1991, the tour was split between a 30-minute tram tour and an indoor walking tour titled Inside the Magic, Special Effects and Production Tour. By the end of its life, the Backlot Tour ran around 35 minutes as only a tram tour. Inside the theme park section of Disney MGM Studios, guests were still shown the making of the movies through smaller attractions, one of which was the Magic of Disney Animation, where you could see animators working on actual Disney movies, such as Mulan or Lilo and Stitch. This attraction featured several interactive elements, such as a quiz where Lumiere would tell you which Disney character you are most like, an animation academy where you learn to draw a Disney character, and a digital coloring studio. There was also a 9-minute video showing how Disney characters were animated. You would also find character meet and greets from some of Disney's recent animated features. Superstar Television gave guests the chance to appear in television shows such as I Love Lucy or Cheers. Technology was used to insert volunteers into the show, all while teaching them about television production. Guests chosen as volunteers were brought backstage, where they were given lines to run over, as well as cue cards when they were actually in the show. Similarly, the Monsters Sound Show selected 4 audience members to create special effect noises, which were added to a horror comedy film starring Martin Short as a butler and Chevy Chase as an insurance salesman. After the show, guests entered Soundworks, which featured interactive stations where guests could do things such as create their own sound effects or insert their voices into classic movie scenes. However, the star attraction of this area was the Great Movie Ride. Having been able to go on this attraction before it closed, I can truly say it was the peak of MGM Studios theming. This ride takes you through various movie scenes such as Wizard of Oz, Alien, Mary Poppins, and Indiana Jones. However, this dark ride was also combined with actors creating an immersive experience for guests. Your tour guide would either be taken by mobsters or cowboys, who would then take over the tour. Then, as the mobster or cowboy would see treasure, they would get turned into a skeleton trying to steal it, and your tour guide would return through the magic of the movies. Even now, I cannot fully explain the incredible storytelling within this attraction. It truly was the pinnacle of the original MGM Studios.
Nobody else grabs you, twists you, turns you, hurls you, shakes you, shoots you, rocks you, loves you, and puts you right in the middle of all the action and adventure you've seen on the screen. Not anyone. If you want to go on the greatest rides based on the biggest movies, there's only one place you can. You've got to go to Orlando and go to Universal Studios, Florida, the #1 movie studio and theme park in the world. Universal Studios, Florida, the only place on earth where you can ride the movies.
With Universal Studios opening in 1990, there was a lot of competition between the two studio parks to prove which is better. Disney CEO at the time, Michael Eisner, wanted to expand MGM parks so that it was no longer a half-day park, as he considered it. Imagineers pitched the Sunset Boulevard expansion, which would open in 1994. Originally, this expansion was planned to be a Roger Rabbit expansion, including 3 separate attractions. However, as expansion plans continued to develop, Disney Imagineers wanted to create a replica of Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. Eventually, these plans were carried through, pushing Roger Rabbit Land into the area where Rock and Roller Coaster sits today. However, due to issues with the character rights, Disney scrapped any Roger Rabbit attractions.
The Disney MGM Studios, now twice as big. Let the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror drop you 13 frightening floors. Don't miss any of it. Call 407-WDisney now.
With the opening of Sunset Boulevard, Disney slowly was moving away from the original theme of going behind the scenes into movies. The 2 e-ticket attractions in this expansion were Tower of Terror and Rock and Roller Coaster. These 2 attractions took you into their stories where you were able to live your own story. Though these attractions are considered by many as part of Hollywood Studios' original attractions and theming, they are more like the newer theme of Hollywood Studios than the original. In Tower of Terror, you are checking into an abandoned hotel, only to find that the last time it was open, 5 people stepped onto the elevator before it was struck by lightning and they plummeted to their deaths. Now, as you are entering on a very similar night, you are stepping onto the same elevator, where you will travel to the Twilight Zone and suffer the same fate. There is no behind-the-scenes magic, no using technology to create sound effects for the ride. You are characters in the story of the Hollywood Tower Hotel. You will become the guests that everyone else will hear about in the legend of this hotel. Rock and Roller Coaster isn't much different. You are guests touring the recording studio where Aerosmith is recording their newest album. As you are there, they have to leave to go to a concert, but Steven Tyler doesn't want to just have to leave you there, so the band brings you along to their concert in a super stretched limo. Of course, LA traffic is packed, so you end up missing the concert by the time you make it. There is no glimpse into how music is recorded, how tracks are layered together. You are simply guests of Aerosmith at their concert. However, even though these 2 attractions lean more toward a new theme for the park, MGM Studios is still receiving new attractions that show the behind-the-scenes movie-making magic. On May 5th, 2005, 10 years after the Sunset Boulevard expansion, Disney opened the Lights Motors Action Extreme Stunt Show. This show centers around a spy thriller movie being filmed, involving explosions, jumps, spins, and stunts. The script reveals many filmmaking secrets to the audience, including screens which show how different angles can affect how a stunt is enhanced. Since the stunts were filmed out of order, the end of the show includes a final cut of the scene, leaving a wow factor for seeing it all put together. This show encapsulates the original theme of MGM Studios so perfectly that you could have thought it was an opening day attraction. There is no theme to make you feel like you are one of the stunt drivers. You are simply sitting in the audience, watching a show about how they film epic car stunts. And this isn't the only attraction the park opened that showed how movies are made. In 2001, the park opened Walt Disney Presents, which included a show on Walt Disney's life and how he created the Disney Studios, as well as props from popular Disney movies and even a multi-plane camera, which teaches guests how Walt would film some of the older animated movies. Very similarly, in 2015, Disney replaced the magic of Disney animation with Star Wars Launch Bay. This features props and costumes from Star Wars films, as well as a video from the creative team behind the movies, showing you behind the scenes. Disney was still clearly trying to keep the behind-the-scenes idea when opening these attractions, but simultaneously, they were opening attractions more focused on storytelling.
We have visual contact.
Go, go, go!
Make way for the big.
Howdy, partners!
Climb aboard!
Carnivores versus pork bellies?
You're on, old school.
Your mission, get there. The all-new attraction, Toy Story Mania. It's 4D, which is one better than 3D.
Security. Works every time.
Now at Disney's Hollywood Studios.
January 7th, 2008 began a new era for the park. On this day, Disney transitioned from Disney MGM Studios to Disney's Hollywood Studios, officially dropping their MGM affiliation. Though this seems to simply be because their deal with MGM Studios expired, a press release stated differently. Then President of Walt Disney World, Meg Crofton, shared the reasoning behind the name change. The new name reflects how the park has grown, from representing the golden age of movies to a celebration of the new entertainment that today's Hollywood has to offer in music, television, movies, and theater. This seems to be an official statement on the plan to change the park's theming, and the first 10 years after the name change definitely back that up. This name change brought the closures of many fan favorite and beloved attractions in the park. On September 28, 2014, Disney ran the final Backlash Studio Tour, preparing the area to be replaced by the upcoming Toy Story Land. The closure of one of the park's opening day attractions was only the beginning of the park's new identity. Only a few years later, Disney closed the Great Movie Ride on August 13, 2017, which I am still salty about, by the way. Another opening day attraction was gone, replacing it with Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which places guests inside of a Mickey Mouse cartoon short. Lights Motors Action closed only a year earlier, on April 2, 2016, being replaced by both Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and Toy Story Land.
Get ready to play big. It's the all-new Toy Story Land, now open at the Walt Disney World Resort.
Though there haven't been many other major closures in Hollywood Studios, the opening of new lands has certainly shown that Hollywood Studios is moving in a new direction. In 2018, Toy Story Land was open to the public, where guests would shrink down to the size of Andy's toys and get to play in attractions that Andy had built in his backyard. August 2019 brought a partial opening of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, with the rest of the expansion opening a few months later. Here, you can choose to join the Resistance or follow the First Order, build your own lightsaber or droid, try some of the famous food and drinks from the Star Wars universe, or fly the iconic Millennium Falcon. I will be the first to say that this is by far the most immersive land in Walt Disney World, and I honestly barely even know anything about the Star Wars universe. It all goes over my head. But either way, these two lands are some of the best that I have seen, and I am excited to see if Disney continues to develop Hollywood Studios in this way. However, until Disney continues to work on Hollywood Studios, the park is left in almost a state of limbo. You can see the more immersive attractions and lands are far more popular than the rest of the park. Attractions such as Muppet Vision 3D and Star Tours The Adventures Continue rarely have long wait times, while Rise of the Resistance and Slinky Dog Dash rarely are shorter than 90 minutes, often reaching a multi-hour wait time. Other attractions have simply been left abandoned by Disney since the COVID-19 pandemic. The Muppet store outside the attraction has yet to reopen, and after a rumor that there's mold growing inside of it, the Little Mermaid show has supposedly been stated to be permanently closed, though honestly I'm not sure where people got this information. With many attractions and areas dying off, I'm left to wonder how much longer they have left. Is Disney already in talks of expanding Galaxy's Edge into Muppet Square? Does Disney already know what they are going to be replacing the Indiana Jones Spectacular with? I strongly believe that in another 20 years, we are going to see more attraction closures in this park and announcements on what will replace them. Though if they are anything like the new Tron roller coaster, it may be another 30 years until anything new actually opens. I love Hollywood Studios as a park, despite how disorganized it feels. Tower of Terror is my favorite Disney ride. Galaxy's Edge is one of the best lands that Disney has created. For the sake of this park, I truly hope that Disney executives and Imagineers can continue to evolve the park, because Hollywood Studios simply needs to find its identity again.